you check the children. Show a little massive
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Robert Wolfman.
And we are here to discuss a brand new horror movie that technically comes out next week as we record this and as you guys are seeing this. This movie is one that I was actually very excited for once I found out about it. I didn't know about it when we did our most anticipated of the year. Otherwise, I probably would have put it on there.
Fair.
Because I'm a huge creature feature fan. And Robert and I first discovered this movie during a trailer reaction not terribly long ago. We saw 2 trailers total, and then we both knew we wanted to see it.
Yep.
And so we got to go see Death of a Unicorn today. And I will say that I walked out satisfied. I had a good time with the movie. There are definitely aspects that could have been improved, but at the same time, I'm very happy that it exists. I'm very happy that unicorn horror exists outside of Karis Hell. Right, because I was reminded by Jason Smith, friend of the show, Sinister Cinema Reviews. I was like, I'm glad a unicorn horror exists, and he's like, oh, you haven't seen these then, I guess. And he sent me a poster of Karis Hell,
Okay.
which is I guess.
Well,
unicorn.
we still need to get around to watch that Unicorn Wars.
Unicorn Wars.
I think it was Unicorn Wars. It was like
The animated one.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten that yet
Yeah.
either. Yep, I've been meaning to watch that.
That was another one that piqued the interest.
That's not on streaming though, unless I pay for it. So I'd rather just pay for the Blu-ray.
True.
But yes, so Death of a Unicorn, and again, I enjoyed it. It was funny at times. It was actually quite gory at times. It was a rated R film, but unfortunately, the characters weren't the deepest, and our 2 leads didn't have a whole lot to do throughout the movie. So it had its pluses and minuses, but overall, I'd probably give it like a 3.5 out of 5, just because, again, because I'm a big creature feature fan, and the fact that they made unicorns scary monsters made me very, very happy.
Absolutely, and I will agree that 3.5 is a pretty solid solid rating.
You're in the same range? Okay.
I am. Like, again, from that trailer reaction, we were definitely excited about it, and it was one of those like, okay, this is fun and original. Didn't really sell me with the Jenna Ortega thing. I'm not a really big fan of her. Again,
she's oversaturated. Right?
She is, and she's very one note kind of deadpan in her acting. She's very Kristen Stewart.
Okay, fair.
And everything.
I got you.
And like, don't get me wrong, she at least had some emotional aspects and everything in this, but even like what Cecil was saying, it's like they didn't really have a whole lot to do. They were kind of just there in the background, which is a little bit of a bummer.
She was there to do research, and he was there to basically have things happen around him.
Yeah, and that's like
strange.
Like really, your main focus seemed to be on the other characters in the family, and
Which I was fine with because
I was too.
They were amusing characters.
They were, especially one of the
Will
family
Poulter.
members. Will Poulter, yes, from Barry, right?
No.
That's
Will Poulter is the young kid.
Yes,
the younger
yes.
kid. Yeah.
Who's the other guy? The bald, no eyebrows.
Barry. No, I don't know what his name is, but he was on Barry.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I loved his character. He was fantastic.
He also plays Metamorpho in the upcoming Superman movie.
Oh, nice. Did not know that.
Yep.
But yeah, no. Overall, so getting back on track. No, very, very satisfied with this movie, and it was fun. I had a lot of fun with this. I found myself actually genuinely enjoying and laughing at some of like the little quips and shit like that.
Yeah.
Especially with Will Poulter.
Yeah. His character was hilarious.
Holy shit, he was great. And
it was a very well drawn character. Sorry, not to interrupt you. I know people hate it.
I know.
I'm just emphasizing what you're saying.
Yeah. Calm down, guys.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'll ream him at the end.
Yeah. Chill your bones.
But yeah, no. Overall, definitely go check this movie out. It's a lot of fun, and the originality that they try and do with this was fresh. Like it was
Agreed.
you didn't really see, you don't see this actually with how they portray the unicorns. So getting this violent mayhem of animal destruction, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. So diving in deeper, right? We'll keep this all spoiler free.
Yeah.
Everything we're going to talk about is stuff that was at least touched on in the trailers. So if you haven't seen the trailers, then there might be some minor spoilers for you, but it's just set up for the movie. And so the story is about Paul Rudd and his daughter, again played by Jenna Ortega. Both actors very oversaturated right now, but it's an interesting enough dynamic, and so he plays a lawyer that is working for a very rich family that's in pharmaceuticals, and he's going out to essentially be tested to see if he's worthy of becoming a bigger part of their family and thus their family's pharmaceutical wealth. And he is trying to do this in order to provide for himself and his daughter because their mother is no longer in the picture. Unfortunately for them, as they drive up to the house, he very I know what you did last summer-ish runs down not just a unicorn but a baby unicorn.
You done goofed there, Skippy.
Yeah, and so Jenna Ortega is traumatized by it, but there's something that happens after they hit the unicorn with her and the unicorn that sort of develops this connection between the two, and that gets developed throughout the movie. Again, we're going to keep it spoiler free, but yeah. And then when they arrive at the house, they try and act like everything's cool, but very soon they're unable to hide the fact that they hit this unicorn, and the rest of the whole family that's there finds out about it, and they find out about some specific medical properties that because both Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega have issues that they're dealing with medically around their faces, and they both get blood on their faces, and it heals the issues. And so, considering the patriarch of this family is dying of cancer, it's very relevant to him that they let him know that the blood of this creature healed them, right? And so it quickly becomes, this unicorn is the new basis for a wonder drug that can cure basically anything. And that's as much as I want to go into outside of the fact that after this point, the baby unicorn's family decides to get revenge, and all that entails without spoiling their actual intentions.
Yeah. But also, like, one thing I want to highlight too is like how they showed the progression of the two unicorns getting to the house with what they did in the sky. Again,
keeping
it spoiler free because they didn't show that actually in the trailer and everything, which was a nice little nod of like that fierce progression, like they're getting closer and the storm's coming.
Yeah, it's a whole different kind of storm cloud.
Yeah,
a very pretty one.
It was gorgeous. Like, oh my god,
I love those little nods though.
Yeah,
like there's something
those little
like
details.
It's really great. Again, this is not. I'm gonna keep it spoiler free, but Jesus Christ. But essentially, there's aspects about the unicorn anatomy that are
exploitable
very
for pharmaceutical.
But well, no, not only that, but the presentation of the anatomy and stuff like that is really funny. Yeah. Because you're like, oh, that makes total sense, and they run the gags throughout again, not spoiling, but it's really entertaining, and so story-wise, I was happy with it. Again, outside of the fact that our two leads didn't have a lot to do. She researched what the lore, so to speak, of unicorns is, but Paul Rudd, basically everything happens around him. There's no real, movement on either of their parts, even though Jenna Ortega is trying. So there were aspects of the story that were a little bit lackluster, but overall it was really entertaining.
Again, yes, it was. Again, going back to the freshness, like I mentioned earlier, of the tone and the creatures that we're dealing with, it definitely helped the story. But again, echoing back onto our characters, that was the biggest issue with our story, is especially Paul Rudd, because he was more like he was just kind of reacting to what was going on. He wasn't actually doing anything.
He was more passive observer.
He very much was. And even Jenna, like, she was doing stuff, but she really wasn't doing a whole lot. She was forced to be passive. She was, but she was almost like semi helpless at the same time. It was kind of a weird play, but she was also like, not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
I
know.
get what you're
Like
saying,
it
though.
was like, but like, and I'm not screaming like, oh, strong ramming, but she was like she had her purpose, but it was just it was not executed well.
They
with
were
the story.
underutilized.
They absolutely were. I personally feel our side characters were better suited in this story.
They were more well-drawn characters.
They absolutely were. And for what we got for at least backstory and lore, that was nicely presented for a story. I definitely enjoyed that aspect.
So we might as well jump into the acting then, right? Because we're
Yep.
talking about the characters, and I think everyone did fine, but it did feel like Paul Rudd was a little bit on autopilot because he wasn't given as free reign to be as funny as he normally is.
He was very Paul Rudd.
And
Paul Rudd.
Jenna Ortega, again, just didn't have a ton to do, so she was sort of not one note but two notes, escape and sad.
Yeah.
And like that. So there wasn't a lot for them, but the acting was fine. Like they did that. They did what the script asked of them, which wasn't a lot. The family, though, that they had, they were better, more well-drawn characters. And they were all entertaining to watch in their own way. I thought Tia Leone was actually really funny. She had a lot of really funny throwaway dialogue that, like, a lot of the audience didn't laugh at, but those of us that laughed really laughed because they were really funny little lines that if you don't process what she's saying, you'll miss it. But if you process what she's saying, it's so over the top and hilarious.
Well, and that was the thing too. Is like especially with the family, because of how eccentric that they were, they were able to play up those characters so much more than what Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega were. Because again, they were that very one-note directional family getting past a tragic event, kind of rekindling her coming back. So it's like. I
was going to say, the family was in Ready or Not. Paul
yes.
Rudd and Jenna Ortega were in a more serious kind of creature movie.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Especially, what the hell is his name again? Will Poulter?
Will Poulter, yeah.
Yeah, Will Poulter. And I loved what he fucking did with this character.
Yeah, he was really funny.
He took it up to an absolutely insanely goofy, eccentric, just spoiled little brat.
But very in line with his character.
Yeah,
like, he didn't
in
step
line.
out of what that character
No,
was.
exactly,
So
exactly.
That was nice.
Yeah.
And then, the bald guy from Barry was really funny, too. The butler,
He had some nice comedic timing and everything. Again, it was really the family shined in this with that comedic timing and those small little, again, those throwaway little lines, those quips back and forth. Even certain dialogue, like they'll like throw it from like the other room into is just like, damn it.
Yeah.
So
all the acting was fun. It was entertaining, and it's just some of the actors got to flex their muscles a little bit more than the leads.
True.
Getting into the filmmaking of it, I feel like it was a well-made movie. The cinematography was cool. There was some interesting, storytelling things. There was only one moment where they did like unicorn vision, though. I'm surprised they didn't go back to that. But other than that, it was pretty straightforward in its cinematography and its storytelling. There wasn't a lot of like, oh wow, that was a really cool shot kind of thing, but it worked for what it was.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. At least some of the visuals that we got, like again, trying to keep it spoiler free and everything between Ortega and the initial unicorn.
Yeah.
I thought was a really cool like kind of showcase of kind of like that universal power, for lack of a better term.
Agreed.
And again, even going back to just like some of those small little visuals that we got throughout, just of the progression of after the death of the unicorn, things like that. It's like I like those little details.
Yeah,
those make me enjoy the movie, make me actually want to go back and rewatch it and watch more of the things in the background.
I would rewatch it too. I feel like this is a good one. I feel like this is a good Gen Z, Gen Alpha horror movie where like, because there haven't been a ton of creature features in the recent years, right? There's a few, and most of them like go straight to streaming, but this one I feel like could get a lot of attention just because it's a unicorn. And I feel like the younger generation hasn't really had a Jaws to glom onto. And this is kind of a funny Jaws,
That's
right?
fair.
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
What I do like about this is proof of concept that moose jaws would work for Kevin Smith if he ever gets around to making it, right? Because mooses are even bigger than would-be unicorns.
Dude.
So, that would be intimidating.
Those things are terrifying.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, go ahead.
No,
I guess we covered the production side of things.
Yeah.
Well, no. So the actual set design.
Oh yes,
and stuff like that. The house that they use, the mansion in the forest.
They
really beautiful.
They filmed out in Budapest, Hungary, and everything.
Gorgeous. I never had any idea that there was that much of a gorgeous area.
Absolutely stunning landscape, but there were definitely some composite shots that you could see where they did
some matte paintings. And
yeah,
stuff like
they
that.
definitely.
Well,
did.
not matte paintings, but composite.
Just composite backgrounds and everything for certain shots with the house, especially in the beginning. But it didn't linger, so it didn't take it away too drastically.
Right. And if it wasn't a composite shot, damn.
Yeah, well, yeah. Maybe it was just how the screen was and how they had the camera rotate. Who knows? There was definitely one scene that you and I both talked about with the car accident.
Yeah. That was an effects thing. We can save that for the effects.
Okay, that's fair.
Well, I mean, we might as well just move into the effects, and then we'll handle sound design and score afterwards.
Just on that last touch, I guess, of the production. This was a one set basically location.
Yeah, a single location.
It wasn't in a house, but the massive design of each interior rooms and the intricacy of how they decorated, the eccentricness of this massively wealthy pharmaceutical family. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, hella jealous.
Hella
jealous where they had this fucking house.
I was like, damn, I can't afford that on my salary.
I know.
Not at all.
Oh,
Not
man.
on 5 of my salaries.
God, crystal clear blue lakes.
Gorgeous look.
Trees,
gorgeous area, yeah.
Trees up the ass.
So getting into the effects, though. Here's the issue that some people are going to have. Like, some people are just going to be like, oh, the CGI sucks. Because, the thing is, the CGI is very apparent. And not only, but mostly because we all know unicorns don't exist. Yeah. So, and they don't use a horse that they just, super glue or, Scrooged and staple a horn onto their heads. You know what I mean? I do like the design of the unicorns because they are very horse-like.
Yeah.
But they almost have like lion manes kind of around their faces and stuff, and it's really interesting. And the coolest thing is that the horns appear to be as unique as like a wand in Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
Like almost every unicorn's horn is slightly different in design.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what a neat idea. The fact that they're not all just, straight conical or, conical with spirals, right? And like one of them has like, it looks almost like a human spine that's curved.
That honestly,
I
loved that.
That design was so fucking cool.
I kind of wanted to make that into like a little knife. That would be a cool little spine blade.
Yeah.
God.
Or the horn blade. Honestly, just make it the horn.
Yeah.
But still, So I felt like the design of the unicorns was really cool, and especially considering, again, not spoiling anything, but the design does change.
There are two different.
We'll be careful. We don't want to get too specific. The design
There's a
changes.
few.
The design changes, and we won't say how, when, or why, but the design changes slightly, and I thought that it was nice. I thought it was cool.
And it served the purpose of the story.
Served the story. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
It absolutely
it's nice that everything that happened in this movie wasn't like superfluously done.
Exactly.
There was a reason for it all, and I thought that was neat.
It wasn't just lightning bolt here just to have it in there.
A lot of times with creature features like this, they don't take the time to think of these little details that like augment the overall presentation.
Yep.
Right? They just like, creature kill, good enough.
Yep, exactly.
Cocaine bear. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
But we knew what cocaine bear was.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Some people would think that, Death of a Unicorn is just cocaine bear with unicorns kind of, you know what I mean? But it's not. They thought deeper. I feel like the filmmakers thought deeper about these little details that, again, augment the overall experience. So I very much appreciate it for that.
Yeah, it had it was like a whimsical horror kind of thing. It was again, this was definitely one I'm pleasantly happy with seeing, and I'm glad I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah, I'm glad that unicorn horror exists. I know Karis Hell is a thing apparently, but But this is the first big budget one.
I will say, honestly, I would have liked to have seen 2 different leads cast.
I feel like it might have worked a little bit better.
Keep everyone else and recast the 2 leads.
Yeah.
And I definitely think, you wouldn't have had such a singular note for those 2 because of how they've been portrayed and written in every fucking movie.
Yeah.
There's no change, so you can't see the difference from movie to movie.
It's true.
And I think that was
That's
part
fair.
of the issue, I think.
That's fair. But I mean, effects-wise, again, some people are going to say that the CG is too much. There is a lot of gore, which I liked, but it is a lot of CG gore, so you got to be ready for that.
Yeah. Well,
There's some practical gore. Usually, it's like aftermath gore as opposed to active gore.
Yeah.
All the active gore is CG, but some of the aftermath gore is practical, and that works. I did actually like the dead practical unicorn.
True.
Because it plays a big role, and it was. I felt bad every time I saw it. Like, so they did their job with that.
True. No, that's true. Like when they could do the actual live creature, they used it when they could. Like, we had a couple shots at the end,
Yeah.
and everything, and then obviously with the baby dead.
Live, you mean animatronic?
Animatronic.
There wasn't
yes.
a live creature.
Yes. Unicorns aren't real, people.
Actually,
unicorns aren't real.
If we had stuck around to the end, it would have been really funny if it had said no unicorns were harmed in this movie. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
right. But
it probably does. If they were, it takes
probably.
a very small amount of brain power to consider.
I know. I had to skip out of there. I had to pee.
I know, we both did.
But no, for effects wise, the CG is apparent. But again,
if you buy into the concept,
exactly. If you're in there just like already wanting to just shit on and knowing you're wanting to shit on the CG, you're not gonna like it. But you're gonna have, again, it's not legitimate horses running around with horns on their fucking head. But
they're more interesting looking than that, so that's nice.
And they were actually, it was a cool, fresh design for the unicorns.
Agreed.
They were fucking scary as shit at
Hell
times. Yeah. If we were dealing with that situation, I would have shit myself and had a heart attack at the same time. I don't know, but the colors were pretty.
Yeah.
But the colors were pretty.
It's true.
So I don't know. But yeah, like again, with some of the gore, at least, like I had mentioned to Cecil, it was there. It was very CG, but I wish they had lingered on some of it more versus cutaways. Like, we had just enough, but I felt that they cut away too soon and then showed us like the behind the shoulder shot of what actually happened.
So conversely, I will say, I did not feel that way.
On a couple shots. I'm
just saying, I can't even think of a shot where I felt like they cut away. So don't say, because we'll leave it to them. But I'm just saying, my perception is I did not have that problem. So, maybe you'll fall somewhere in between. Maybe you'll agree with Robert. Maybe you'll agree with me. Maybe you'll fall somewhere in between. I didn't have that issue though.
Yeah.
So
no,
there you
but
go.
like I said, like they showed enough, but I feel like they wanted them just to linger that little bit more, especially for that one. There's a particular scene in the courtyard with
tell me afterwards.
2 of them in a spearing.
Okay.
Yeah, anyways,
tell me afterwards.
yeah. Anyways, but yeah, that one I think is probably my favorite kill, and that was one of them. You kind of saw it coming, but at the same time,
I know what you're talking about.
It was still really satisfying. You're like, yeah.
It's a callback to another. It felt like a callback to another well-loved, real-life creature feature. I'll tell you afterwards.
See, now I'm blanking.
Yeah, I'll tell you afterwards.
Anyways.
We're being annoyingly cryptic for the audience. So thank you guys very much for watching. I think it's worth going to see in the theater. But if not, very much worth making time for once it's available on streaming at home. Get some friends and have a couple drinks and go watch it, or watch it at home. You're going to have a good time either way. I don't feel like you'll feel like it's a waste of money. You just may have a couple of the same gripes as us. But overall, if you like creature features and you like the idea of a unicorn, creature feature, then I think it's worth seeing just for the the uniqueness alone. You know.
I agree. I very much agree.
So thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do. We greatly appreciate it. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
Wolfman.
And remember, stay scared.